remember that the composers, lots of them never wrote anything. It was written down by someone later on, like Angus Mackay, who Seamus correctly describes as a real genius. He, you know, wrote down all the tunes that were extant at the time, and he, in fact, has written them very well, better than the Piper Society. But they didn't adopt his thing, anyway, they reverted a bit.
Who did they adopt then?
Well, they adopted...
Do you feel, in your opinion?
Well, they adopted a kind of silly thing. Where it was questionable, they would just leave it to you. And, for example, do you play Piebroch?
Yes.
Well, if you look at the Kilberry book, they will have a silly wee E grace note, then a low A. And instinctively you think, well, that wee E grace note is a small E. So D, and draw.
So we're talking about the length of cadences, really?
Well, not just cadences, really the simple starting everything. And cadences come into it.
In other words, is it a knee crotchet or a knee quaver, or is
but it's just a
semi-quaver or a demi-semi-quaver?
And sometimes that wee E grace note, say it's D and D and, that's what it roots like, D and, but sometimes it's D and do. It's a short low and a long E, and it's very confusing.
And it would be quite confusing if you're looking at Tullachard, for instance, or looking at Lament for the Only Son,
Tullachard is a very good example.
Yeah.
A lot of people play D and I think definitely because it's a war cry kind of thing. Grab your sword and rush. So I'm thinking D and hibbity, he and hibbity, but the others say D and hibbity, and it just doesn't sound right.
Aye. And of course, you've got to look at the third pulse in that tune to emphasise it, and it really doesn't point that out.
Well, the book, the Kilberry book for Tullachard, you just don't know where you are.
And Lament for the Only Son is another example of your E cadences being different lengths.
Yes. And you know, it's so needless, because it could be maybe long or short, but at least it's got some length. But where it's just a wee grace note, it's silly.
The people who compiled these books, how good were they as musicians?
They played them properly. They played the tune the way...
So is it just a matter of...
just following a kind of system.
Unable or unwilling to put down the correct expression in the
Yes, yes. And as I say, Seamus McNeill said, you're right, that it's all a mix-up, but it means that you have to go to a good teacher. And he thought that was a good process.
In other words, what we've got is just notes on paper. We're back to the old teaching at Borrowing or whatever.
Well, no, the truth is Kilberry is excellent in terms of the note sequence is correct. It's just the timing, it's all close.
See, you could extend this. I'm from Glasgow, right, and folk would say, I don't have the Gaeltacht, I don't have the song, the Gaelic song in my head.
The Cantoracht wasn't Gaelic.
I know, but you know, and therefore I shouldn't be able to express it the way they can. And you take that right through. Some guy in Texas, you go, Germany now is burgeoning, and they're trying to learn piping over in Germany, as you know well. And the Bretons play, some of them are excellent with the Piebroch also. So it's a worldwide sort of thing. And Seamus's contention about going to a good teacher really is out the window here, because it's virtually impossible for folk abroad to take that one up.
That's right, but you can get recordings of all the best players.
Thankfully. But the book should be more accurate.
Anyway, that's one of my...
Well, it's interesting that. Do you think that currently the Piper Society are taking all this on board? Or?
Very slowly, but they're not... they don't have enough courage to say, right. Anyway, and you know, they'll even be you know, a bit unwilling to. They all say, "Oh, that's a great job you've done there, wonderful job,"
Right.
but they're unwilling to say, "Right, let's." I mean, my idea was we should do that with all the tunes.
So you should actually revise.
Yes, we should revise them so that another musician can come and say, "Oh, well, I can see how."
Yeah. The
you know,
expression. And did you, what position, if any, did you have in the Piero Society at any time?
I was a secretary for 18, 19 years or something. Seamus was the secretary and I followed him.
Did you have any influence at all there in the thinking?
The Piero Society is odd in that the structure is there is a general committee. And a long time ago, early on, they said there will be a music committee. And the music committee was made up of those who knew about the music. And the other one could be Lord Lovat or whoever else.
Right.
And there was a lot of that at the time. And so they weren't allowed. The music committee had the power over what was to be printed and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the set tunes. And I've never been in the music committee, and not that I really want to be because I can criticise them from the outside. But anyway, I think they're having an awful job modernising and coming to.
But I understand it's fairly well attended and it's
getting
a lively enough organisation.
It is, and I think eventually they'll see the light.